To Thormaid, looking at our forestry plantation. And just to get our bearings, ahead we have the lochs of Thormaid and Sarah, and panning round through the parts of our property on this side of the loch. We have the Julacan systems there, and much of the land down the hill of the forestry road, which has been ploughed and planted this season. We're actually standing at the confluence of the roads, and we're standing in the middle of a small hardwood plantation, which is designed to give amenity and some better appearance to the overall whole. And in this hardwood plantation we've got some of the specimens actually planted within green tubes to aid the take and the preservation of them. But these are some of the small hardwood trees that have been planted here. There's one which is actually outside the tubes. If I look closely at this one here, actually just about see a tree at the bottom of it. We'll go over and join our colleagues. That rustling sound is Daniel pacing about. Looking for trees, Daniel? Exactly is that? Is that a tree just down here? Is that
an alder?
That's an alder.
Yep.
And
it's open grown.
Mm-hmm.
And by comparison, you might
you can actually see it down there.
You should be able to see it, and you'll see the leaves are bigger and it's looking a good deal healthier because of the sheltered environment.
And what species have we got in this area? Is it just alder, or is it...
No, you've got quite a mixture. There's alder, see there's some cherry around, there'll be sycamore.
Definitely sycamore, some rowan, and willow. I think that would be some of the broadleaves.
And these are planted above and below this this road.
Yeah.
But we've just got these plant protectors on the ones above to give them a bit more of a chance.
That's right.
And the property of mine extends to where the ploughing finishes down there, does it? Or does it extend beyond that?
No, it extends beyond that. It goes in a straight line across the middle of the flat area towards the loch.
Right. So it's quite an area there, isn't it?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And we've said that that's quite damp at the moment. If the climate's very dry this year, we might be tempted to plough up some of that for planting. But if it stays damp, then we'll carry on planting here in more of the upland.
That's right. If it stays as dry as this until late summer, attempt to plough as much as we can in the flat area.
Right. So we're going to go up now to. We walk anywhere near some of our.
This year's planting.
Just moved up a little bit, and we see small Japanese larch, the lighter green foliage, to give some variation in foliage as well. More over the far side of the furrow. The same planting techniques used throughout, which is to throw up by the ploughing or by individual border spade digging, to throw up a divot and then to plant in the divot, which gives a weed-free area. Certainly a very rocky landscape around here, but we're finding sufficient soil, are we, for the trees?
Yes, in fact this is by and large more fertile than the areas which look better where there's a deep peat layer. And here we do anticipate a weeding problem. Although we've ploughed this, you can already start to see grass coming through. Very thin at this stage, not causing any problems, but the chances are here that the grass will come through faster than the trees. So this is the sort of area we envisage perhaps having to weed next summer. But there's certainly 12 months before there's any light.
just weed in the vicinity of the trees to
Yeah, it's just a patch
save the
round
effort.
the tree to give it a start. Once it gets going properly, then there's no further problem.
Right, onwards and upwards.
Right. I think maybe if we walk out
Just coming going through here.
and along the top of the flat, it's easier walking than going across them all the time.
Move to the top of this, and this is the point, as I say, where the two roads join together.
One day this will all be mine.
Certainly notice the difference. We've moved up to the area of this year's planting, and what have we got here? Small Sitka plants, are they?
Oh, these are actually large.
They're large still. We're still in the larch area. How far across here does the
The larch is basically in this area that looks greener at the moment, where the soils are more fertile, in this triangle between
Yeah.
the two roads.
right?
And as we move on to the soil that's looking brown at the moment, the peat,
Yes.
we change over into our standard planting of Sitka spruce and lodgepole pine.
Right. And the area of last year's planting is further over there. In fact, it just starts on the brow of that hill, doesn't it? It goes on beyond there.
Here's a bit of green in it, with a mixture of trees.
So, I mean, will these larch ever have any commercial value, or we tend to leave them there in perpetuity?
Well, they have a commercial value, but less so than the Sitka or the
Right.
lodgepole.
Mm.
And what we'll do here is that not all of these larch will survive. We'll beat these up with Sitka.
Mm.
So we end up at the end of the day probably with somewhere in the order of 70% Japanese larch and 30% Sitka.
Right, Sitka larch mixture.
There's 3 Sitka spruce, then 3 larch. 3 Sitka spruce.
All the way down. So you're sort of graduating the change from one to the other.
Yes,
That's
from
right.
the soil begins to change.
Also, when you then beat up with more Sitka, it won't look so strange, I suppose.
Yes, we want to try and get a merging effect rather than a distinct block. This time, for newly planted. That's all the bit that's standing out, all of that is this year's growth.
Mm.
These long meadows are what was originally planted
Mm.
just a few months ago. So even at this stage it's more than doubled its size. The thing that really counts with conifers at this stage is the total needle mass.
Yes.
That's what really governs its growth, because it depends on the needles to produce the food
Mm.
to get the tree growing.
So this is back into the lodgepole pine region. And the Sitka spruce is what? Alternative rows, is it, or?
No, it's mixed in the row again.
Mixed
It's
in the rows.
3s, so you've got 3 of each.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I can just pick them out now. That's some Sitka down there. If anything, I'll say that's doing better than last year at the same time, although the weather's been a bit better.
We're having a very good take here this year.
A really good one there. It's only this year's. I mean, that's hardly what we'd expect on last year's, I suppose.
I mean, that would be good for a second year growth.
Very acceptable anyway. Go right the way up to just short of that road where the machines have turned, and this peat, much of this peat actually flowed down. So wet at the time, but it's now drying out and becoming powdery as a result.
Drying, and you can see here how before it's ploughed, the peat is very plastic and is totally waterlogged, and apart from maybe a few weeks of the year during the summer, the water table lies at the surface. So all the nutrients that have accumulated in the peat are locked up. After ploughing, we let the air get in, which then mobilises these nutrients, and that's what these trees are starting to grow into. And it's a continuing process.
It's like another one growing quite nicely just behind you over there. Right behind Alec there.
It's a total needle mass.
That's a Sitka.
Sitka, yeah.
Right. There's a lodgepole over there. You can tell they're sort of a darker green, aren't they, with less side shoots and more.
That's right. Longer needles, although at this stage the needles are still growing. So here the needles are what? 3/4 of an inch. By the end of the growing season the needles will be 1.5 inches long.
Well, that tends to be their growth habit right through their lives, really, doesn't it?
That's right.
Getting up and away and straight. So when you go through the process of beating up and replanting some of these that haven't worked, I mean, it has to be an individual thing. You just have to go along all the furrows with the new plants, do you? Or do you earmark sections?
We sample it first. We come through and do a survey. If there's 1 in 10 are dead throughout or less, then we leave it.
That's okay.
That's adequate. If it's more than that, then we would beat up that whole section and replace every dead tree. But there are very few. I can only see one through there that's standing out.
Oh yes, I can see that now.
Less than 10% at the moment. So we could lose more through the winter.
Yeah.
So we'll have to check again in early spring.
So they appear quite sort of brown, don't they? Let's just have a look at the brown one, just to... There's the dead one.
We had to look very hard to find it, mind you.
Certainly more alive than dead, anyway. So to maximise the chances of the rest of them, we really need a little bit more rain, don't we?
Yes, I mean it would be better if we had more rain, but by the time they get anything that's growing like this, it's well and truly. So no matter what happens for the rest of the year, it will survive. But in a normal year, we'd be looking for 1 in 10 of the trees looking like this, and that would be normal.
Typical, yeah. Planting over a number of years, so hopefully these things will even out. But as we say, there were those cold easterly winds that did for quite a few of them, although not so much in this area, can't we?
No.
Because we're in the lee of that hill, though, aren't we? From the
well, it was a very localised thing that one patches seemed to succumb and others didn't. And the overall effect over Brewster as a whole is minor.
We're going to walk towards some of our older plantations, or are we going to take the car over there, do you think?
Well, whichever you want to do. If we're going to walk, I would suggest we went up.
Yeah.
And along
across
rides more than walking across the plough.
The lock's over there somewhere, isn't it?
Yep, right over the
It's
top.
quite a way over the top.
Yeah. Come on then.
Yeah, conifers. That's the lodgepole pine plant. Little purple pineapple.
Yeah. Well,
The female flower.
so it won't be self-seeding for a while.
Very common.
There's a meadow pivot.
Not some starlark, I think. If you're looking at the needle mass, it's increased by about, what, 3 times? Imagine pruning all these shoots back.
It's all the food storage,
and
really,
that's 3
isn't
times
it?
as much going into reserve for next year's growth.
So this is a particularly good area here of steady peat, which the drier weather has certainly seen this coming ahead. There's a shortage of moisture there.
And the warmth.
Yeah.
They've got plenty of moisture. With the warm weather, they've responded to it.
It's one of the few areas where you can look across and you can pick them out row by row by row with the greenery of them. So standing here, I can't actually see a brown one within range, although I'm sure there are a few. We can't hope for much better than this. What's the red flag over there? Is that significant?
No, it's been used for marking something.
A break when
The
chap next door gets that bit ploughed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just, for the sake of ease, use the ploughing as your boundary down to the loch, and then straight through the middle of the loch to the north end.
And that's quite a wide stretch we've left there. From E to T around the loch there.
You want to try and envisage this that the tree's a reasonable height,
Yes.
and it starts to look just about right.
Because I mean, you wouldn't actually see the loch at all, would you, if the trees are right up to the edge of
Yes,
it?
we wouldn't want to hem the loch in. And one thing we may do, you know, given 4 or 5 years, is plant the odd clump of trees.
Yeah.
You know, to break that rather severe edge. At the
Mm.
moment it's a
Mm.
hard edge, maybe plant some clumps to break it up. And then follow the ploughing down
Mm.
to the edge of your...
That's the southern boundary.
And I mean, that boathouse there, has there been anything in it?
There's an old, well, there was an old boat, which is a rotten old boat, as it were. We've actually put a boat on it just the other day. We've got a boat that's due to go on to Thormaid,
Yeah.
made by a local craftsman, but we put it on this loch because it's easier to get to, in fact,
Yeah.
just to test the boat out. It seems to be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's one of an order of 4, so
Yeah.
we had to test it to
Right.
improve the rest of the order.
Can we go down to the loch's edge, or is it a bit of a hike from here?
No, 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 probably best.
Well, on a much milder and calmer day than we were previously here, we're now up at the loch, known as the White Loch locally, and we own about 2/3 of this loch, or the far shore. You can see that a fair margin's been left without planting to give amenity to the loch, and I'm standing at the end of the boathouse where we've got a new boat installed. There's some quite good fishing here, but the trout are all of the same age, and they wonder whether they're breeding or not at the moment. It's the far shore of our neighbour, but certainly a lovely day here. A good day for fishing today, wouldn't it?
Yep. Pity we didn't bring the rods.
There's the old boat that they're now replaced. That's cotton grass that you can see everywhere. It's a surprising year for it after the dampness of last year. It uses this wind pollination seed distribution method. So we'll walk round the loch and up to last year's planting. Coming away from the loch, but in the background there's one of the tractors used in the planting that actually got bogged down, and they haven't bothered to recover it yet. They will sometime. But, looking back, this is where we walked up last year and surveyed the loch, if you recall. But at that time we hadn't brought the planting this far up. See, here are the new furrows. You can already spot from the distance some of these small plants. Down there. Got the view away from the loch now, and so we hadn't brought the planting this far. And if we walk down here, we'll find the area where we planted last year. Down from the top of that hill, and here are some of the cross drains that have been dug to try to keep this ride clear. And it's interesting, again, this is a good growth area, and looking along you can pick out the trees, which is most unusual in their first year. This is still this year's plantings, and you can see the small trees one by one. I'm standing on this tussock here, we're picking up a bit of a gust of wind at the same time. Then turning round, again this is all new planting area, but over in the background you can see that change of colour where the green vegetation has had a year to grow. Of course this is the vegetation of wheat and things rather than the actual trees themselves, but we'll go up some trepidation and see how last year's trees are doing. it's time. I mean, these are established. What growth there is has been there quite solidly, rather than just rushed up in the last month.
There's no doubt that these are growing all here.
But I mean, some of this Sitka is a bit dicey, isn't it? Much we can do at this stage, is there?
No, I mean this is a case of watching what happens for the rest of the season and then deciding if there's any of this that needs to be beaten up. I mean this patch we're standing in here, there's quite a few enough to justify coming in to beat up. But if it's just this little bit here, we wouldn't bother. But if it's like that, beat up.
Should we go back a bit and walk through a bit further along? See?
Yeah, I'd like to see a bit more of this,
Yeah.
just to get some feel for it.
So a bit there's a contrast to this, perhaps. Planted through that stony area there as well. Let's have a look over there, shall we?
This is a good growing part of the site.
So, one year's weeding flax it.
Oh yes, right. It's not. I wouldn't want to put too much emphasis on it. Not part of the game.
I think we were rather spoilt walking across those others, didn't you?
Come along around, Alex. You started on this.
Yes, yeah. That's why I want to get you over here. Always finish on a high note.
Here's the best one there.
And that's one that's come away well last year. Well last year. Gone on from,
What's that? That's the lodgepole, is it?
that's lodgepole.
It's not Scots pine.
Dabbled it this year. It'll grow a wee bit.
Come away very well this year.
So, final conclusions on this year's new planting. Things have gone very well. Very well. Last year, well, we've got a mixed performance. Some have done well, others have been caught by that cold wind and it's not come back. But, you know, maybe 20% beating up, as you can see. There's still lots of well growing. I mean, that is as far advanced as it should be. But, you know, all told, I think we're doing quite satisfactorily. So we'll phase out now with Loxera, the Thormaid in the background, over last year's planting, and we'll see what that's going to be like for next year. Just a little afterthought. We've found some brightness in the gloom. Here are some quite exceptional little Sitka spruce. It's got a nice little tree there. Pine. Back there, some of the exposed that were really mostly lodgepole pine that were badly affected. But coming down this side of the hill again, things are looking up. I mean, there are still the occasional one. The majority of them doing fine.
casing point where they're stopping the drainage short, so that the water goes into the barn and deposits most of the silt feet.
Yeah.
Fairly simple. It's nothing.
No.
A lot of about survival here is quite good, not appropriate to black mountain trees around.
Oh, a little bit of something up there.
Yeah.
Again, partly with the deer in mind, they prefer these sort of species. I can plant these round the edges, it helps pull them out of the plantation as the trees get to a reasonable size, where we can get at them if necessary.
There's just an area of grassland left there to attract the deer into it, so they can be culled effectively. And also the drainage ditches stop short of the burn, so that the silt from the ditches will come back into this area. Well, what do you think of it, Dan?
It's cool.
Yeah, come on, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a much larger area for a start,
Yeah.
and I mean, you can actually see them this year.
Yeah. See
Really?
them last year.
Are they bigger than you thought, or smaller?
More than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll see more progress on this year's crop next year, because they've certainly got up to a much better start.
Yeah.
And so we start to make our journey up to Scotland, and this is what we're going to find at the other end. Our sequence is going to open with a meeting with George McRobbie, our forestry manager, as we enter the Thormaid estate at Broopster at the main gate just here. We'll then drive through the... I'm just coming in and recording. So we take off at the East Midlands Airport and take that short aircraft up to Edinburgh, then to Aberdeen, and then right up to Wick Airport, which is right at the top of Scotland, part of the most northern part of the Scottish Highlands in the Caithness and Sullivan. And our opening sequence starts at Thormaid. This is our estate of Thormaid in the entire estate of Broopster, and our film sequence starts with a meeting with George McRobbie, our forestry district manager for the road, and we can see initially that we'll look across, we'll see a small stand of trees planted by the Forestry Commission outside Thormaid. And then we'll make our way along the forestry road. We'll stop once or twice here. This will be a significant point where we stop just at the edge of Loch Steorach, and we look up to the road where the road joins, and we'll see a bowser, and then go down that road, stop in the middle of Thormaid, and see the area of our plantation here. We'll also walk up the hill and look down on the loch, and we'll walk up in very windy circumstances these two peaks, and we'll take a look at the surrounding prospect, including a view of in this direction, of